I will be forever the myth.
You're the king of kings,
There's always a pecking order. The little packers never mess with the big packers. So I'm a rooster, and he's a chicken, so to speak.
All right, welcome back to the Bodybuilding Legends Podcast. I have my good friend Dan Solomon here with us today. Dan is the president of the Mr. Olympia. He's been running it for the last few years, and so we're excited to have him here with us today to talk about what's going on at the 2021 Olympia. Dan, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for having me. You're doing a great job with this show. I keep following it. Every week you have big stars on and icons of the sport, and I know people really enjoy those interviews.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I don't think we could beat last week where we had Lee Haney, Sean Ray, Lee Labrada, and Gaspari. That was unbelievable, getting all those guys together.
That was probably an easy interview for you to do because those guys all know how to talk.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're all great. They're very articulate, great champions. Yeah. But it was, I was kind of, having a fanboy moment, all these guys that I used to read about when I was a kid, and they're all there talking to me. It was awesome.
Isn't it fun? I'm glad you said that, John, because sometimes I feel like we all get so caught up in the work of what we do. And we all started off as just fans, loving this stuff, magazines and following the competitions. And, now we get to have opportunities to talk to some of these legends and these icons. And it's easy to forget how special of an opportunity that is. And I'm glad you're still appreciating it because
I was freaking out.
It's pretty great. I know a lot of my colleagues, who started off just like we did, they get so lost in the business and the financial component and all that other stuff that they forget just how great this can be. And we're very privileged, as is your audience, to get to hear the stories that these folks tell. And when we were coming up and when we were starting out, we didn't get these opportunities. We didn't get to hear from Lee Haney and Lee Labrada the way we do today. So it's pretty special.
Yeah, even Lee Labrada at one time said, he goes, I'm freaking out. I'm looking at the screen and I'm seeing all these guys, he was with them competing and even he's freaking out. So that was really cool.
And the cool part is they all still look great. Lee Labrada looks like he's about 2 weeks away from competing every time I see him.
I told Lee, I said, I saw a video of you playing guitar with your band in your 60s. I go, now I feel better about turning 60. You're so cool,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great that they're all still here and that they're all friends and they're, they have such great camaraderie. I think everybody picked up on that.
No question.
All right, Dan, well, let's talk about the big event this year. Last year, of course, you had a real challenge with COVID, and you guys had, I think, 5 weeks to move from Vegas, where you had it all planned at the Zoppo Theater. Was that it?
Yep.
And then you were going to move it. You had to move it to Orlando, and you pulled it off, and it was amazing. And it was a great show last year. You had an unbelievable stage set up, and the whole thing went off without a hitch. So congratulations again on that. You and your team really pulled it off. So now we don't have those crazy drama this year. So what's going on for 2021?
Well, 2021 is all about growth and evolution. Like you said, last year we had very unique circumstances. And quite frankly, there's been a lot of unique circumstances this year. We're still in a bit of a pandemic. We're still dealing with those realities. So that hasn't completely gone away. With that said, to have all this extra time to kind of do things the way we want to. As everybody knows, Jake Wood came in about 1.5 years ago and acquired the Olympia in Muscle and Fitness. And he did so because he had major plans to grow this thing and do some things with it, with me and Tamer and Angelica and our entire team, and do some really cool things with it. And of course, last year, we had some limitations and we were able to overcome those limitations and put on what many have described as one of the best stage productions the Olympia has ever had. So we're really proud of that. But this year, as we move towards the 2021 Olympia, the 57th edition of Joe Weider's Olympia, we are going to do some things that I think are going to really shock some people in terms of what we're going to do with the stage, even with the Expo itself. We're now calling it the Olympia World Fitness Festival or the World Fitness Expo, really because it's a sort of a reincarnation, if you will, or an evolution of what the fitness industry has become. When we all started, we were a bodybuilding competition, right? And now there's just so many fitness disciplines, not just the fact that we have 11 IFBB professional league divisions that we crown their champions at the Olympia, but there's also a myriad of other fitness industry passions and disciplines that I represented this year. To give you some perspective on just how big our expo is going to be this year, So as for some perspective, in a normal year when we were at our full strength in Las Vegas, we would have upwards of 150 plus exhibitors and sometimes even more. Last year, of course, we had that, what we call our Band-Aid event, where we just kind of piece something together.
Right.
We called it our Olympia Fan Pavilion, which, we had 30 or 40 exhibitors there, and it was great. And we were grateful for the support that we had, and we gave the fans something to do for a few days. But this year, we're back almost to that full strength. And it's when you walk in, it might not be the biggest Olympia Expo you've ever been to, but it's going to be close to it. And it's going to feel like what you would come to expect from an Olympia Expo, a trade show. It's going to have, 100 and some odd exhibitors representing a cross section of, sports equipment and sports apparel and sports nutrition. And so you're going to get a lot more of that. We've brought in Tim Gardner to kind of put his touches on the fitness expo experience to try to create a little bit more of an experiential, elevated overall vibe in the convention center. So you're going to see more surrounding that. We're completely reworking the press conference this year, that same press conference that we've all grown to look at, where you've had basically 30 carb depleted bored faces looking back at the audience.
Right.
Yes, I got with Tamer Algindi, our producer. I got with Jake and our team, and we're going to do something a little different this year. So if you weren't sure if you were going to go to the press conference this year at noon Thursday, it's inside the convention center at the Chapin Theater in the West Concourse. I encourage you guys to go to that this year because it's going to be different, and I think a little bit more energized, and some more memorable moments I think will come out of this year's press conference than perhaps we've had in the past.
Wow. Any hints?
No, just let's put it this way. You're not going to have a lot of people sitting down on that stage this year. It's going to be, it's going to be different. We're going to create conversations. We're going to create moments that I think, and I say create, they're going to be authentic. They're going to be organic, but we're going to create a model that allows a different type of communication to happen, and a different type of energy to sort of kick off the weekend. And I think people are going to really appreciate what we're doing this year. And I'll be honest with you, every part of this year's Olympia, whether it's the press conference, even the banquet that we hold for the VIPs on Saturday night after the event, even that's going to have a different vibe to it, a different energy to it, different everything. And of course, our stage production, you guys saw what we were able to do last year in 5 weeks. I can only tease and tell you a little bit and say this year's stage is going to be just a whole nother level. And there's going to be some elements of this year's stage that I have sworn my team to secrecy, but you're going to get there and you're going to see things as part of that stage production that the audience has never been allowed to see before. So we have some really cool things going. And the other thing that we're really proud of is we have more sponsors at this year's Olympia than we've ever had in the 57-year history of the event, which to me is so gratifying because, look, it's been a challenging couple of years for companies, for fans, and to be able to see everybody, all these companies come back and want to be present, want to be a part of this, want to support the fitness industry's most prestigious event, and to create something that everybody recognizes this is history. This is, we're on the comeback trail in terms of bringing the community, the fitness industry back together. So, a lot to look forward to this year for sure.
That's great to hear about that, about the sponsors, because, what I've heard over the last few years is, the supplement industry is changing. They're not spending as much money. The contracts for the athletes aren't the same. So because it's all social media driven now. So,
well, I'll jump in, John. You're right. All those things are true. And the way we've been able to grow this thing is it's not all about the supplement companies anymore. Now, of course, the supplement companies represent a big central artery of what we do. And we love the supplement companies, the sports nutrition category. It's enormously important for all of us. But we're starting to see a lot of new types. I mean, look at our title sponsor, Trifecta, the #1 organic meal delivery service in the United States. They're not a supplement company. We have so many other brands and so many other companies that sort of cross over to different parts of the fitness lifestyle. And some of them even cross outside of the fitness lifestyle because these are companies that want to connect with our audiences as well. So I've always said the only way we are going to reach where we want to reach as an industry, as an event, the IFBB Pro League, all of us, the only way we're going to get there is if we go beyond just what we call those endemic brands. The endemic brands are sports equipment, or I should say fitness equipment, sports nutrition, and apparel. we can't just live in those big three anymore. We have to go beyond that. And we have to cross over into Hollywood. We have to bring celebrities on board. We have to do things to reach out and to make this sport something that your next door neighbor is talking about, something that your dentist is talking about, something that your best friend's wife is competing in. And the way we do that is to reach out and go beyond just that comfort zone. And I think that's why we've been so successful getting new sponsors aboard.
Yeah. Thanks for correcting me on that, because I just assumed it was supplement companies, so I made that mistake. But yeah, you're right. It is reaching out now to a fitness lifestyle. And I think that's one of the great things the IFBB did over the last 10, 15 years was they brought in all these other divisions, and that ended up bringing in a lot more people, regular people, into our world that never would have went into it if it was just bodybuilding, you know?
And Jim Mannion deserves a lot of credit, because the advent of all these new divisions, think about this. This year, we're going to have 11 IFBB professional league sanctioned divisions at the Olympia. 11. Think about that. Now, of course, we're adding the wellness division this year. We've added the incredible athletes in the wheelchair Olympia division. You know, so, and then of course, last year we brought back the Miss Olympia, which was a huge success. And we're really proud of how that's turning out. Andrea has been a great champion, so we're proud of that as well. So just a lot of growth, and those new divisions are connecting new audiences. I can't tell you how many people know our sport now because of the bikini division, right? So it's really, Jim has really led the way there. And I think a lot of us have just followed behind his lead, and we've seen a lot of growth because of it. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned celebrities at the Expo. Do you have anybody you want to mention that's coming this year? I know we've had Shaq there before, and Mark Wahlberg, and in the recent years. So we're always really careful about putting stuff out there, because with COVID and with the movie schedules of all these actors, they're always their representatives, their publicists, their agents, they're always careful about putting those caveats that they may or may not show up. So we don't like to put too much out. I do know that I'm fairly sure our good friend Dave Bautista will be in the house this year. He loves it. He loves this stuff. He's such a big fan of all this, and he doesn't come as a favor. He comes because he wants to be there. He really follows the sport. And of course, last year last few years we've had Shaquille O'Neal there. We're checking on his availability. Mark Wahlberg has been a part of this thing. Dwayne stops by once in a while. So you know, I don't know ultimately who's going to end up there this year. I know we have some cool NBA commitments and some Major League Baseball commitments, and you know, we'll see how it goes. But I don't want to put anybody in a spot and make a promise and then somebody shows up and then all of a sudden that person isn't there. So I'm always really careful about that. So when is the Expo, Dan? If people just didn't want to go to the show and they just wanted to, they were in the Florida area and they wanted to travel and check out the Expo, when is that? Yeah, so this year's whole scheduling model follows right in line with what we've always done. So the Expo itself is a Friday and Saturday event, starts at 9 a.m. on Friday, and I think we have an early entry program as well. And then it runs throughout the entirety of the day. And then, of course, the two, what we call main events, the Friday night and Saturday night events, also at the Orange County Convention Center. The Thursday press conference also will be at noon. So it's in the Chapin Theater. Do your homework, guys, and figure out where everything is when you get there, and ask questions if you're not sure where to go. Last year, I know, was our first year in Orlando, so it did create some confusion. I remember Thursday at noon, we normally have a big line out the door at the press conference, and last year I noticed we didn't have as big a line, and quite frankly, it was because of COVID. There wasn't as many people there, but also it was because people didn't know where things were. We didn't have that autopilot situation where people just knew where things were. So, so the schedule, and then we also have the Amateur Olympia, which is going to be in Orlando, which takes place on Tuesday and Wednesday prior to the start of the Olympia weekend. Oh, wow. That event, the Amateur Olympia, which, by the way, is open to anybody who's registered as an NPC athlete. It's also a pro qualifier. And it's a really great event. It happens to be one of the biggest NPC events in the country. Certainly the biggest NPC event in the state of Florida. And it's funny because I always joke that, you know, we spend so much time focusing on Olympia weekend. The Amateur Olympia, a lot of times we don't talk about it as much as we should, but if it was a standalone event, the Amateur Olympia would be a central, you know, marquee event in the industry. It tends to get lost a little bit in the shuffle because we're talking about putting on the Mr. Olympia and all that stuff that we do. So if you want to see a great NPC event, or if you want to compete in a great NPC event, you can go to MrOlympia.com, click on the Amateur Olympia button, and you can get registered for it or even attend it, because it's a great amateur event. And like I said, it is a pro qualifier.
Yeah, I got a couple of people from my gym at Powerhouse who are going in it, so I know it's going to be a huge event.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Now, that's not international, right? That's just this country?
This country, yep.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Olympia.
By the way, and I want to jump back on that.
Yeah.
There are certain eligibility rules that I don't fully understand. So there might be, don't quote me on that. I know that we are, it is an NPC worldwide sanctioned event.
Yeah.
And where the pool of athletes can come from, that is probably more of an IFB. That's probably more of an NPC office matter.
Okay.
But I do know that there is a global representation at that show. If you are an international athlete and you want to determine your eligibility to compete in the Amateur Olympia in Orlando, just send us over an email and we'll get you squared up.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Mr. Olympia. Of course, that's where we all started with this. Last year we had Phil Heath coming back, so that created all the headlines. And this year we've got Big Ramy, who was the surprise winner last year. He blew everybody away. So it's exciting this year. I've listened to now all the prediction podcasts are starting to come out. I just did one with Jose Raymond that will be on this show as well.
Great.
And we're talking a lot about all these new young guys coming up, Ian Valere and Nick Walker and Hunter Labrada, Lee's son. So that's exciting that we've got all this new blood coming in, and they're not just coming in. They're a force to be reckoned with. These guys are going to be really contending for that top 6 spot.
They really are. I know Sergio is going to try to get himself qualified this week as well. There's a lot to look forward to right now. Even Ramy as a champion, he's a relative newcomer, right? I mean, he's been doing it for a few years, but he hasn't been around really that long either. And when you look at, of course, the arrival of Hadi Chupan, who made it safely here from Iran, we're very excited about him. There's a lot of fresh blood coming in to the sport, to the open men's division in particular.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of new rivalries form. And also what's great about a lot of these new sort of arrivals onto the scene, what's great about it is they're from all over the world.
Yeah.
And, with Hadi coming in, from Iran, and of course, Big Ramy from, Egypt by way of wherever else, he's traveled. And,
right.
And I know he's in Arizona working with Dennis James. I know Chad Nichols is involved in that camp. They just have a great group of folks that are kind of looking out for Ramy and trying to help him defend the title. But it's not going to be easy for Ramy when you bring 300 pounds plus on stage. There's a lot of margin for error, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to have his work cut out for him. I caught up to him a few weeks ago at the Rising Phoenix, and his head seems like it's in a pretty good place, but he knows that they're coming. And a lot of the names that you just rattled off, of course, let's not forget Brandon Curry. He's coming back.
Yeah.
He's trying to reclaim that title, and he knows that he's been kind of forgotten at some point. And he's been working real hard. And every time we kind of count Brandon out, he comes back. And look, last year, I mean, he came in and he finished runner-up. He finished runner-up with this thing. Yeah. And let's not count him out. I mean, a few tweaks, a few adjustments, and somebody else comes in off the mark, and all of a sudden, Brandon Curry could pull like a Dexter Jackson 2008 and slide right back in and take the title again. So, don't count him out.
Well, what's so exciting about the Olympia now is, when we had those long reigns from Lee Haney and then Dorian and then Phil and even Jay for a little bit, it was hard to dethrone the champion. It seemed like it was almost impossible.
Yep.
And now we've had Rodin won in 18, and then Curry won in 19, and then we had Ramy won last year. So every year it's interchangeable. If someone's off their mark, like you said, they could lose.
That's right. If you go back to 17, of course, Phil won in 17.
Yeah.
Like you said, Rodin won in 18. Brandon, and then Ramy. So that's 4 consecutive years where we've had 4 different champions.
That's never happened.
That doesn't happen. I don't know. Has that? I mean, John, you would know. You are the preeminent historian. I always say, and I'll say this with respect to our amazing friend, our big brother, the late great Peter McGough. I used to tell Peter Peter, I hope you live forever, because if you don't, I don't know who's going to fill those big shoes of sort of the bodybuilding historian. And John, I will just say this to you. You are doing a great job of doing that, because I don't know that there's anybody alive right now who knows more about the great history of this sport than you do, and also who does as great a job of sharing that with the world. So thank you for doing that. I know Peter would be incredibly proud to see the work that you're doing. I hope he's watching down from where he is and seeing you kind of continue to carry that flag and represent the great history of bodybuilding.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's important that we do it. It's so important. One of these days you got to come to the house, John, because after Peter passed, I went to see Ann, Peter's wife, and Ann gave me some incredible keepsakes from his collection. Magazines that would just knock your socks off from the 40s and 50s, old issues of Your Physique. I even have a license plate. I even have a license plate from Peter that he used to have on his car that said Flex Mag on it, because of course Peter ran Flex. And what a treasure. And it's going to be hard not to stop. It's going to be hard to stop thinking about Peter this coming Olympia, because I know he wasn't able to make the last few because of his health, but he's such a presence and he was such a part of the story of the Olympia. I don't know if I would imagine most of your viewers are familiar with Peter. Might not be the case with all shows, because a lot of the new crowd, they might not know about that, but I know your audience is very familiar with Peter McGough, and we just miss him so much. Yeah. And this will be the first one that he, since he passed away last year. Yeah. We were all close to him. I think we all felt a real fondness for him. And we, those of us in the sport, we always appreciated what he brought, to the sport, his great writing, his sense of history, and, how long he's been around and everything. So, yeah. And, I always felt like whenever Peter walked into an event, took a seat in the press pit or wherever he was sitting for first or second row, the event suddenly felt more important, right? It was almost like the great Peter McGuff is here with his pad and paper, because he was old school, and he would cover the story. And if you were competing on a stage where Peter McGuff was there covering it, or if you were attending a show where Peter was also attending, you knew you were at something that meant more than any other show. And those are really big shoes to fill. But we're just so grateful to have had all those years with Peter. Yeah. After he passed away, I did like a tribute show on my podcast for him, and I was going to have people that knew him, like you, maybe Bob Chick and other guys, and then I thought, why not just take all these old interviews I did with him, and I just took these segments of these interviews and I put them all together. And his wife reached out to me and she said, "Man, that was unbelievable," because I heard his voice, and that really made her feel. That really touched her, That legendary, iconic, raspy Peter McGuff voice that just had a way of just sort of telling a story, and you would just kind of become mesmerized. There was times where we'd be on the phone, and I talk a lot. But when I would talk to Peter, I just stopped talking and I listened, because he just had such a beautiful way of telling stories. Yeah. And I might have a sense of history, but I don't think I'll have his wit. I won't have that British wit that Peter had. I don't think any of us will. And Peter was good, and I'd say this to Peter's face. Peter was good at making bad jokes funny, and he was really, really, really tremendous. Yeah. So, but you'll be making the trip to Orlando. Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'll be doing backstage interviews again like last year. I guess Sean got me involved again, so that was the best weekend of the year last year for me. So I'm looking forward to doing it again. Well, that doesn't say much, because there weren't a lot of great weekends last year, but we're glad that we were able to provide some relief. And I'll also tell everybody out there, tickets right now are, I hate to say it, this is not a thing that a bodybuilding promoter should say, but tickets are almost gone. Yeah. We're actually trying to release some more tickets for Saturday night, so there's more inventory. The VIPs are long gone. Saturday night's almost completely sold out. There's some good seats left for Friday. So Friday's an important night, because Friday night is the pre-judging for the Mr. Olympia. So you want to be there Friday night. Yes, you do, and you also have the finals for the Miss Olympia, Fitness Olympia, Figure Bikini, Figure Olympia, not Bikini, Bikini Saturday night, the Women's Physique Olympia, and it's just Friday night's an action-filled night, and I just hope that people get there and realize that a lot of meaningful things happen on Friday night. But there's going to be a lot going on this weekend, and the hotel blocks, the event grew so much that we don't just have one host hotel this year. Now we have two.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the Hyatt and the Rosen Center. And for those of you guys who don't, they're both connected to the convention center, so they're both convenient. And so you won't really have to drive anywhere. And if you don't know the Rosen Center is a really nice hotel. It's a beautiful hotel with a great pool area and lots of restaurants. And so it's my advice to you guys, if you haven't done so already, get those rooms booked, because that room block's gonna end like literally any hour now, and you're gonna be back to regular prices. So get on that and get to the Olympia. You're gonna love it.
And before I let you go, Dan, let's also talk about the pay-per-view. We just mentioned I interviewed Lee Haney and Lee Labrada and Sean Ray and Rich Gaspari last week. So they're all going to be part of that pay-per-view. That I think that's so awesome, doing the commentary. So
I'll tell you what, I got to give Sean Ray and Jake a lot of credit. Sean Ray really dug in on that. Jake decided that he didn't want to just have a couple hosts like we've always had. He recognizes that there's so many great voices throughout the sport with different levels of, expertise in the different divisions. So it's like a Hall of Fame that we have. And I mean, I'm talking, like you said, Rich Gaspari is going to be there. Lee Haney is going to be a co-host. Lenda Murray is going to be involved. Rial Graber is going to be doing the fitness. There's honestly, there's like 10 of them, and I'm not even remembering all the names. It's an incredible who's who, Lee Labrada, of just great opinion makers and experts in the field. That one of the cool things, if you get to go backstage, we have this little area roped off where we allow all the sort of guest hosts to hang out while it's their turn. And it's like being at the Hall of Fame. They're all just sitting there one by one. Lee Haney and Rich and Labrada and all these guys, and they're one by one, and it's just such a cool thing. And I know they really enjoy that camaraderie. And the pay-per-view is going to be really great this year. And for those of you guys who can't make it, just go to olympiaproductions.com and you can order it at pre-show prices. The price will go up as we get closer to the show, so make sure you go ahead and do that. As you probably learned from last year, this isn't your grandmother's pay-per-view anymore. This is a higher viewing experience. The team Jake has really made a big commitment to that pay-per-view and making sure that the viewing experience is the best it can possibly be. The level of coverage, the scope of coverage is bigger than it's ever been. We even include prejudging now. We include many more components of the weekend. If you remember years ago, it was just a night show. So we've really gone a long way to kind of making that pay-per-view a real gift to fans really around the world who don't get to get on airplanes, especially right now in this COVID environment, and be able to be at the show. So I think you guys are going to really love it.
Yeah, me and Isabel Terrell were doing backstage interviews last year, and I don't remember doing that before. I don't remember ever seeing that before. So that was good. Like when the guys are coming off the stage, the guys and girls are coming off the stage.
Yeah, no, it's great. And then, with the coverage we get from the NPC News Online, and of course, Muscle and Fitness, and our team will be there for Muscle and Fitness and Flex. And I know you'll be out there, and a lot of media is going to be, I've been approving a lot of press passes lately for
that's awesome.
Colleagues in the media. And we're amped up. It's almost go time.
Yeah. So Mr. Olympia Production, is it Olympia Productions or MrOlympia.com or?
So for pay-per-view, go to olympiaproductions.com.
Okay.
And for anything else, whether it's schedule information, hotel links, ticketing, whatever it is you want, go to MrOlympia.com, and including the Amateur Olympia registration, it's all there.
Okay. All right, great. All right, Dan. Well, thank you again for joining me on the show. I know I've told you this personally and on the air before, but I'm so glad you're running things now. I think it's so much better, and I think it's going to keep getting better and better every year. Like you said, you got more stuff coming, more surprises this year with the press conference and the pay-per-view and the stage and everything. So I think it's just going to be amazing. And I think as long as you're running the show, it's going to keep getting better and better and better.
I appreciate that, John. I have a great team, and it's really a collective effort from so many people involved. But I will just say to you, on behalf of the Olympia, on behalf of bodybuilding as a sport in general, keep doing what you're doing. It's so important. Never quit this show. This is such an important thing. I'm telling you, John, this is such an important thing, and there's not a lot of people doing it. Everybody out there right now is focused on likes and quick hits and all these other things that people chase. But what you're doing is so meaningful, and it's so important. And I just hope you continue to tell the story of bodybuilding and keep it, part of the conversation, because if we disconnect with our past, we have a way of kind of losing our way when it comes to our future. So I'm really hoping that you continue doing this, and I appreciate all your hard work.
All right. Thank you, Dan. That gives me hope, because sometimes I get a little frustrated I can't get the guests. So you telling me that makes me feel a little
Hey, if you're out there and John calls you, if John Hansen picks up the phone and calls you to do an interview, just say yes.
Yes.
Nobody is too important.
Right.
You do the interview if John asks you to do it, because it's a privilege to be interviewed by John Hansen, and I hope everybody out there understands that and appreciates that, because it's really fun getting to talk history with you.
All right. Thanks, Dan. I really appreciate that. All right. Thanks, Dan. Again, appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you next month in Orlando. It'll be the whole weekend of October. Well, the 7th through 10th, but it actually goes before that. Like you said, the Amateur Olympia will start before that.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Dan. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Okay.